It's up and ready.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome to Frightfully Good and the ABC of Hauntings tonight. And welcome. Your hosts for this evening, as usual, are Anne Rakovich from Oz Paratech and moi from Newcastle Ghost Tours. And both of us being so frightfully damn good.
Oh, look how good that looks. That sky looks so blue.
We welcome you here. And did you catch our 15 minutes of manifesting? If you did not, catch us next week, because we start at 7 p.m. and we just go on for 15 minutes just before this particular show, and it is on the Frightfully Good channel. And you can catch us to get into some manifesting and some changes in your life. Very, very simple. We don't ask for much. We don't ask for much. Just your attention and just the
maybe
desire.
1 cent every now and then.
A couple of stars. Throw a couple of stars at us, and just the desire to change. Just the desire to make things happen. Hello, Sam. Good morning. Where are you from, Sam? Sam Bakari. Let us know where you're from. Good morning to you. Yeah, the background looks good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that.
Sorry, my big black knob's getting in the road there. Down there you can see the Freemantle Art Centre, which is one of the things we're talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people who are following the saga of me auditioning for a TV commercial, I got the said TV commercial and I'm filming it Saturday. Woohoo!
Yay!
Look for this gorgeous face in about a month's time on telly. Oh, there we are. Dylan's back. Hi, Dylan. Thank you for joining us. And isn't Isaac a hoot? I love him. I loved his comment about he was more disturbed by the two old ladies swearing than he was. He didn't say old ladies, mature women or something like that.
He wanted to say old ladies.
That's all right. We own it. We love it. Oh, what are you rolling on yourself there?
Would you like some Energizer oil?
Oh, yeah, why not? Are you sure you want to energise me?
Yeah.
Okay.
There you are.
Oh,
because we are so into all of this stuff. And our friend, Miss Christie, will be selling lots of this stuff very, very shortly in her new store at Morpeth. So watch out for that coming up.
Oh, thank you, Kerry. I'm just trying to see. Look, we've got Gil here all the way from Ireland.
Hello,
now, I'm
Gil.
going to be butchering your Charles Fort very shortly, the proper name for saying. You'll have to teach me how to say the proper pronunciations. And the other thing I have decided today, and I'm going to put it out into the universe because 2020's been shit, is that we are going to go on an overseas holiday in July next year. I'm just putting it out there. We're going back to England. Yeah.
We hope.
No, we're going. We're manifesting.
It's happening.
You've got to believe it.
It's happening. We're going to get the shot, whatever it is. I don't care what they put in. As long as we can go.
They're hydroxychloroquine or whatever it is.
Acid? We'll take acid.
Even if it's up the butt, we'll be there. Oh, Joe, thank you for sending stars. So if you're enjoying what we're doing, thank you, Ron, thank you for sending your stars. I can't see them coming up on the feed there, but they're on my phone. I'm trying to keep an eye on it. So the stars is a new thing that Facebook has introduced where you can show your appreciation to people who are putting content out onto Facebook. You may see a little star, like a little...
icon down the bottom.
I think you can.
It's a star.
See, it's a little... I don't know if you can see it just there, that little star. If you tap on it, it will tell you what to do if you want to do it. You don't feel you have to, but it's
one big
appreciated.
cent.
It's 1 cent a star.
So,
but it all adds up.
You will make us millionaires.
In cents. Even then, that's a lot of money.
Yes.
That's a lot of money.
Yes, we will become millionaires because of you guys and your stars.
We might be able to fly cattle class instead of on the wing.
Hey, it's coming. I can feel it. It's coming.
All right, so we are into the ABC of Hauntings. So the people watching, you know that this is not the tarot night and the manifestation is done for the night. So this is where we try to educate a little bit. We've got our little cauldron going there and we're just chucking on various bits of herbs. as the Americans like to say, some herbs.
This one is Intuition. Intuition, and it's got a whole lot of
that's one you
wonderful
made, isn't it?
things in it, from bay leaves to resins, and it's got frankincense and a whole lot of, I think it's got a bit of dragon's blood in it as well.
I will come out of here in a second. I just wanted to make sure that was working, which it is.
Like that, Eddie. Yes, Edie. Like Edie. That. Absolutely. Yeah. Edie Joy White. Thank you.
Yeah.
Or I'll do the same.
They're going to send us to England.
Thank you. That's our thank you, guys.
Oh, is it?
Okay, no, yes, because we can't do that.
That's the devil worship, isn't it?
That's not part of my belief
Hail
system.
Saturn?
That might be. We will send you to England 1 cent at a time.
I was reading today.
Yes.
That the devil, the Satan was only introduced as an opposite to God, the anti to God, in the 13th century. He doesn't actually exist anywhere in the Bible, but it was introduced. He was
depends on which
Satan
Bible.
And one other that fell as naughty angels who did the wrong thing, but they weren't actually opposite to the power of God.
Oh my God!
They were just fallen.
This is going to start.
I know, I was just reading this book called Positive Magic, and
it's going to start a nightmare, guys.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really interesting. Just thought I'd pass that little bit of knowledge on. So let's get cracking, shall we?
Let's bring up Satan one more time.
Hail Saturn. Hail Saturn.
Okay, all right.
Oh, one other thing we've got coming up is the Lochinvar House overnight retreat weekend. Now, there's only 2 beds left, and each bed holds 2 people.
Bring a friend.
One is in the most haunted room, which is the 4-poster bedroom, and it's unlikely that will be a share room. It will probably just be a room all to yourself.
Okay, Audrey Lim, there is someone here for you. They just smacked me in the back of the head, and I think this is a male. So let me know, Audrey Lim, if you have a male in spirit.
Well, there's a 50-50 chance she does.
This is a fairly new passing. Actually, that energy was as strong as all shit. So I need to just say hi to you from whoever this gentleman is. Let me know who it may be. Sorry about that. But
yeah, when she gets sideswiped, she has to stop.
Wham! You do, Audrey. He's saying hi.
All right. So, I've actually got your pictures up first. Okay. So, shall we do you first?
Absolutely.
Add to stream, and I'm going to now. Oh, how the hell do
Hi, Linda from Sydney.
I think are we on there? Present.
I don't know where you've gone.
I don't know. I'm just going to check that that's working. Give me 2 seconds, guys. Oh, thank you, Erin. Thank you, Leslie. Thank you, Audrey. Thank you, Hayley. Thank you, Cara. And thank you, Mick. And Erin and Mick and Edie.
Oh, my God.
So, yep, there it goes. And
I think you've got an extra E in Freemantle, but never mind.
Oh, that's okay. It's because it's free tonight. I'm being generous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, ABC, there we go.
Oh.
Is that the one you wanted to start with?
Yeah, that'll do.
Okay. Thanks, Belinda.
Okay, we're ready to rock and roll?
Yep.
So the first site we're going to talk about tonight, which is haunted, is the Freemantle Art Gallery. And we were right next door at Freemantle Jail about a year ago, actually.
And we were actually meant to be there this June this year, but never mind.
Never mind, let's not talk about that.
That's just another credit that we've got. That's something to look forward to. We don't have to pay for next year. It's already paid for.
I'm so tired of not going anywhere. Anyway.
I've offered to take you to Stockton by ferry, but you won't get on the ferry.
Nope. Stockton's a very interesting place. It's quite haunted, actually, out in Stockton. Anyway, we are talking about Freemantle, and yes, we were right next door to Freemantle Art Gallery. We didn't end up going in. We would have loved to have gone on a tour and sort of had the site explained to us a little bit more, because it is actually quite fascinating. We did get into Fremantle Jail, and that was extraordinary. But tonight's topic is about Freemantle
Yes,
Art
Mick.
Gallery or Art
It's
Centre.
it's very near the docks.
And so it's housed, or the art centre is housed in a Gothic building built in the 1860s
It looks magnificent,
and has a
doesn't it?
long and fascinating history. It was built by convicts on a grant of 6 acres, and it is a splendid example of Australian Gothic architecture. It does look rather amazing, doesn't it? And it actually first opens its doors back in 1864 as the convict establishment Freemantle Lunatic Asylum and Invalid Depot.
Invalid Depot.
Invalid Depot.
You can buy in bulk. Get your invalids in bulk.
Didn't they have good names back then?
Oh, yes.
So all inmates were under what they call the punitive control of prison rules and regulations, and over time the asylum became the depository of any social problems such as alcoholism, prostitution, and the elderly. So whoever you didn't really want to have around anymore, just pop them in there and forget about them until they died. That's the way it ran.
Seems reasonable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, in the 1890s, so about 30 odd years later, during the gold rush, there were miners and Chinese labourers who were admitted into the building, into the asylum, because they were suffering from the effects of sunstroke and opium smoking. Now, opium, guys, was a big deal during the gold rush era, and most every settled township had opium dens.
Including Newcastle.
Newcastle had quite a lot.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you would just go in and pay your money and lie back and smoke opium. And ladies, it was the thing to do back then. You were pretty cool if you sat back and smoked an opium pipe and got high. Anyway.
And Dylan, that's under the Great Northern Hotel.
Yes. Now, the death of a Mrs. Clifford, and we'll get onto her a little bit later.
Oh, we've got an angry
1900s,
face already. Woohoo!
At the hands of a violent patient, finally sparked a public scandal.
That was Audrey who accidentally hit the angry face there, my love.
So, at the time of Mrs. Clifford's death, 219 patients were residents in the asylum, with 17 to 20 occupying one room. Wow.
How many?
17 to 20 people occupying one room.
Wow.
So an official inquiry finally resulted in the appointment of a medical superintendent and a trained mental health nurse, which they didn't have up till that point in time. So in 1909, in order to solve the problem of a decaying government home for women, Fremantle's asylum was declared a poorhouse to be known as the Women's Home. A year later, in a bid to solve an epidemic social problem, the building was also chosen as the site of Western Australia's first maternity training school. The business of maternity moved to the newly built King Edward Hospital for Women in 1916. We're going to get to the ghosty stuff in a minute. Just need to give you a little bit of background history so that you can understand all of the energies that have been a part of the fabric of this building. It's really, really important to understand so that you understand really what is going on even so many years later. So until 1941, the buildings remained home to poor and elderly women. Problems with young girls escaping, men quarrying holes in the limestone, and one of the women continually riding her three-wheeler bike into town are just some of the colourful stories of this era in the building's history.
She rode her three-wheeler bike. I could just see it. Yep.
Darker stories tell of several adolescents suffering from venereal disease who were kept under lock and key on the upper floor in the 1930s. Oh, I would so love to investigate this place. Protests in 1941 by several women's groups concerning the condition of the home finally resulted in its closure. So we're talking about all of these eras and how they affected the building and how every single one of these things that they tried to create in this building seemed to sort of just add insult to injury. So during 1942 and onwards, so during World War II, a group of 12 American naval servicemen fleeing the Japanese invasion of the Philippines arrived in Fremantle and were given billets in the old women's home. Within the asylum site, 22 additional buildings were erected during the course of the war, and a total of 21 officers, 139 enlisted men, and 102 civilians were employed in activities of the depot.
So Erin's just saying that her husband went there when he was 7 years old and said he remembers hearing so many voices and screams saying to stop and quiet, stop, stop, and had to get escorted out with his mum. His mum said he had a complete tantrum in there. Never happened before or after that, as he was normally a very quiet, shy boy.
Wow,
He
what
must
a
have been
story,
sensitive.
Erin. Thank you so much for
Thank you for sharing.
that. That's quite amazing. So it all starts to make sense, doesn't it, Erin, when you hear these stories? So in 1946, it became the Freemantle Technical School. And then in 1953, students from the overcrowded Princess May Girls' School and Fremantle Boys' School attended classes in prefabricated buildings on the grounds, awaiting the completion of John Curtin High School in 1955. Yep. So Freemantle Arts Centre, as we know it now. Do you want to go to the next picture?
I can do that.
We'll
I just have to go
to the
over
next
to
picture.
here.
Mm-hmm.
That one?
Yeah,
that one?
Yeah, go to this one.
Sorry, I've just crammed dinner down before we started.
Freemantle Arts Centre opened in 1973 with Ian Templeman as founding director. Templeman relied on minimal resources and skeleton staff for support, and over his 17 years at the helm developed Freemantle Arts Centre's first programs and services, including Freemantle Arts Centre Press. In 1978, Freemantle Arts Centre received its first annual operating funding from the state government, and that funding continues today. Before we go to our little clip that we have, I'm just going to talk a little bit about, I guess, the end game for the time when it was sort of an asylum site, and just a little bit about the history of the inmates there. So upon entering the asylum, patients, listen to this, who ranged from 9 years old to the elderly. Now that makes sense. That makes sense for hearing all of those noises, doesn't it?
Wow.
9 years old to the elderly were essentially treated as prisoners. Incoming patients had their heads shaved and were given second-hand prison uniforms to wear as they were locked into the psychiatric hospital's guarded grounds. With no active therapy, patients would often live in the compound for decades on end without their condition improving. Wow.
Well, nothing was happening to them.
Nothing
Nobody
being
was
done
helping
at
them.
all.
Oh, geez, a candle on me.
By the turn of the century in the 1900s, over 200 people were residing in the asylum, with up to 20 people occupying each room.
I love how the smoke goes in her face every time.
It's trying to tell me something. So that same year, the death of Catherine Clifford,
Thank you, Janet.
and we heard about her before, sparked the end of Fremantle Lunatic Asylum. In August of 1900, after briefly going missing from her home, Clifford was admitted into the asylum. The next month, Clifford's husband visited her in the compound. When he found her, she was unconscious with a black eye and scratches to her face. She had been attacked by a violent inmate. Just 3 days later, Clifford passed away.
Hang on, Karen, sorry. I am so sorry. We are educating this evening. We should have done a titty show for you. Hugest apologies. See you later.
It's boring, yep. Karen. Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
Should we flash our tits? Will that help?
Maybe that might make it more exciting.
I don't know. I don't
Anyone
know what
else
she's looking for.
If you are, you can go. That's fine.
Thank you, Julianne, for sending us some stars.
No one is making you stay if it's boring. I mean, you know, it is history.
Oh, for fuck's sake, it's history.
For fuck's sake, we haven't talked about ghosts yet. I'm just talking about damn old stupid, boring fucking history. For fuck's sake! Jesus Christ.
No, you need to read it more boring. After the Freemantle Lunatic Asylum was closed.
The convict building was used for a number of purposes over the last few decades. It was served as a woman's home, a midwifery school, and headquarters for the American Armed Services based in Western Australia during World War II. For fuck's sake. Would you like to go to our very boring little 3-minute clip?
Yeah, sure.
Just so we can bore them stiff even more.
Okay, all right. I've just got to make sure I'm on the right. Here we are.
Here we go.
Now, put your headphones on. I just need to make sure that people can hear this. I can't hear it. Oh, there she is. Oh, they might say Jane's boring too. Thank God. Was it Karen? It was Karen, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, Karen.
Okay, we've got no sound.
Well, look at the pretty pictures. Look, she's holding a book. It's a boring book because it's about history. And she's saying boring things. And these are the old ladies that were in the boring house. And they're all bored. Boring.
Rebellious teenagers.
Boring. Boring.
Can you hear us?
It's very quiet.
Must be disappointed it wasn't Tits Out Tuesday.
It's very, very quiet.
They can hear us though.
Okay.
So that's the exercise yard. And that's one of the lounges.
Sofa.
People had sex on that lounge. And they're talking about the lady in black. Yeah, it's a story that's been handed down. There's some nice little windows with a chimney right in front of it. So when you open the said window, you would get smoke through your room.
Mm-hmm. And if you take a photo of that and enlarge it 50,000 times and put a red circle around it, you will see a ghost. Guaranteed. There's a dead plant, and here we have a doorknob.
And there's the death door up there. If you open that and walk out, you die. Who needs their audio? Now that's their weed garden. They're growing the marijuana in there.
Oh, now she's opening a boring book.
She's showing.
She's saying, "Fuck off! It's boring."
I must have clicked the button that says that you can listen.
Oh,
all right. We'll fuck that off.
That was.
All right. Hang on. I've got to get back to StreamYard and I've got to remove that for the moment.
Okay.
Voila!
Okay, let's get on with this. So, over the years, the building has been a source of many eerie encounters. Here we go. Guess what? Karen's missing out on the ghost story.
So missing out on the fucking ghost stories now. Fuck you, Karen. I can take these off now. I don't need this, do I? She's gone. I love it when she loses it. Thank you, Julianne.
Oh, right, okay. During World War II, American soldiers would often hear whistling, whispering, banging, and strange noises at night. Well,
I had a big bag I was going to bring. I've lost my bag.
okay. Other visitors have also reported the feeling of being kissed on the cheek by phantom lips.
Oh, better than being kissed on the dick.
Unexplained cold spots, doors opening and closing on their own, and the sounds of crying and yelling have also repeatedly been reported, while the apparition of an elderly woman has been seen roaming around the building. So several years ago, Australian medium Anthony Grzelka stayed overnight at the Arts Centre. So during his stay, Anthony claims that he came across the very tough and hardened spirit of a man. When he saw the man down the corridor, the temperature reportedly dropped from 22 degrees to 16 degrees in just 3 meters. With this type of energy, Anthony says, I can't begin to fathom the types of things he did to those poor souls who were patients in that place many years ago. This very unpleasant man has been here a long time, perhaps 100 years or so, from the look of his demeanour and dress, he said. So Anthony had a good stare at him. Yeah. He also discovered an area which was overpowered by the stench of flesh burning. The thing I noticed almost immediately when I entered this area was the strong smell of burning, the overpowering, acrid stench of flesh burning, he said. The next day he learnt the room he was in was once used for electric shock treatment.
And cooking pork.
So he also joined a television team staying overnight in the building, filming a documentary on the hauntings. He was locked in an asylum at 3 a.m, which he said wasn't my idea of a good time.
Oh, it's my idea of a fucking good time.
And he said that he discovered that several security guards refused to enter that part of the asylum after a couple had been pushed down the stairwell, obviously by the same spirit.
Yeah, I wouldn't, I'm not good on stairs at any time.
I knew it was that nasty chap in the hall who was responsible, Anthony said. He later moved into an area that he describes as one of the most haunted locations he's ever visited. The thing I noticed almost immediately was that stench of burning flesh. So that was where he was in that room where they used to administer electric shocks. Ew. Back in the day when society generally had little compassion for mental health, cruelty at the hands of the asylum's authorities was not uncommon. During his visit, Anthony became aware of 3 teenaged sisters in spirit who died in the asylum.
Hi Justin, how are you?
One who had a mental health issue. Anthony says the girls were exploited sexually and were the daughters of a prominent community figure. He believes money changed hands and the girls were used for sexual favours. The place where the sisters said that they were exploited is reported to be where the bathhouses once stood.
Now, there was somebody who sent us a clip recently about a place, I think it was in Queensland, and she was actually part of the home, I'm trying to use appropriate words, the mental health home, and that was going on then when she was a child. She was older, much older now, 50 so years, and they had that sort of shit happening then.
Wow. So there is
I don't know why people are scared of ghosts. It's humans you've got to worry about.
Absolutely. So Joe DeCotta, who is another gentleman who is writing or had been writing a book on Western Australia's most haunted buildings. I wonder if it's out yet. That would be very interesting. He discovered that there were a lot of American soldiers who were spooked while stationed at the building.
Thank you, Jenny.
And
Kim.
he said a group were in a closed room and they all heard what appeared to be heavy clanking footsteps coming towards the door. The footsteps stopped in front of the door and they opened it to find nobody there. And another story he heard about the place was about a little girl who was locked in one of the old cells in the building. Now remember...
Now, Renata, you've got to read that with a bit more excitement now. I'm just going to direct you.
Okay, all right.
In other words...
Another story.
Oh, here she goes.
I heard about the place was about a little girl.
Is this more exciting?
Who was locked in one of the old cells of the building. The terrified girl started banging on the door, pleading to be let out.
Let me out! Let me out!
Apparently at that time, every window in the building reverberated violently and doors started opening and closing by themselves.
Hang on. There we go. Door closed.
Email. Are we making it more exciting?
Might be making it funnier.
Paranormal investigator and director of investigative agency.
Got another 50 stars out of it, so well done.
Investigative agency Ghostbox Australia, Kurt Senior, says the ghost of an elderly lady has also been seen roaming the corridors.
I hope she's remembered to put her knickers on.
It is said she was originally a patient who was hospitalised with mental conditions, probably brought on by the grief after her daughter was taken from her. Oh, that's sad. Aww. Today the woman allegedly still searches for her daughter. Oh my God! Fancy spending the afterlife like that.
Kim.
A child's voice has also been heard singing in the room from where the woman jumped to her death.
Oh.
I need a drink after that. That's just awful.
I did offer you a coffee.
Have you got anything more exciting?
Probably not. I've got some drone footage. How's that?
Ooh.
Are we
Nothing like
enjoying the ABC of Hauntings,
Nothing like a good drone.
or do we want the ABC of
Or do we have
Paranormal
more
Strangers?
Karens?
Or
Have we
you
got
know,
more
are we
Karens
just
on?
wasting our fucking time? Can you all do me a favour? Right at this moment in time, share it to a group. Share this live feed right now to a group. And let's see if we can bore some more fucking Karens. You know what we've got to do? Your Podbean.
Oh, yeah, I haven't Podbeaned, have I? All right, I'll Podbean I'll Podbean your section. Just wait a minute.
I need to open up the door or we're going to die.
It won't take long.
Nothing like burning charcoal in an enclosed room. I'm sure it's healthy for you. Not. Hey, Renata and I have been exploring a new location for ghost tours. About 2 hours out of Newcastle. And Renata was invited to go. And it's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. We can't tell you about it.
Can't tell you, but it'll probably be an overnight experience because it is quite a way away. There are some little cabins that are nearby which are just perfect to stay in. And of course, we'll be there too.
Yeah.
Because I ain't driving home at that time of night on those roads.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we are back with the letter F. And if you stayed for the first part of it, which was apparently deadly boring because Karen left,
Yep.
You are now here for the second half of the F show. And you
know what? The F show, I fucked it up. Sorry, Podbean. Probably get a bleep on that one.
No, I think you will.
I think my lovely husband has just come home. I just heard him come through the door there, and he hates the charcoal. He hates it with a passion. Hello, darling.
Sorry, Ellen, that you Melbournians are incarcerated in your homes.
But you're doing really well.
You are doing,
and your premier is proud of you.
Yeah, it's for the good of everyone.
For the greater good.
You're doing wonderfully.
For the greater good.
You all deserve stars.
Speaking of
stars, if you can throw some our way, that would be really good.
All right, so we can see here.
It's a bird ants that I don't cope with.
That's the husband. He has to get his hello kiss. So, it turns out that Charles Fort is supposed to be one word beginning with a C. But I do have a picture that has it separated as Charles and Fort, but we quite frankly couldn't find anything else with F that we could do. So,
I'm sure there will be people who will give us the appropriate words at this point in time.
Now, the interesting thing with this story was that I found the same ghost story told 3 different ways. And I thought that was interesting in itself.
Absolutely.
And it's also a problem with ghost stories that normally a paranormal investigator will go to a location to investigate claims of ghosts. Now, ghost hunters will just go to a spooky location because it looks spooky and it might be an old Gothic house and somebody may have been murdered there, but there's no ghost stories.
Mm-hmm.
But they go because it's spooky,
mm-hmm.
whereas paranormal investigators go to investigate claims. So when we start to get the same story told 3 or 4 different ways, you wonder what's going on. So you've got to try and get to witnesses who have witnessed it. Now that's going to be a little bit hard because this happened a long time ago. So this fort has a really interesting structure, as you can see there. It's a bit of a blurry picture, but this is this is a little bit of a flyover. So you don't need the music for this one. You don't need anything. You can just have a quick look.
It's rather huge.
It is huge.
It's amazing.
So I went there in I think it was 2015. I don't know if any of you know Dave Schrader, who has, what's his show that he's got now? He used to do the locations for Ghost Adventures, and now he's got the Holzer Files, which he is the lead in, and he organised this trip to Ireland, and my husband and I, not Renata, my husband and I went and did this trip. Now, just while that is going there, I will give you a little bit of information. So, this is where I'm going to mutilate the Irish language. So, I think it's Dún Cartail is what Charles Fort is known as. It was built between 1677 and 1682 during the reign of Charles II as a fortress to defend against attacks from enemies approaching via sea. William Robinson, who designed the Royal Hospital in Kilmainham in Dublin, is also credited with the design of the fort. Now, the ghost story attached to this one is a lady in white. I'm going to give you the first story. It's a suicide of a bride who was in mourning. She is normally seen as a sad ghost, dressed in white, sometimes unfriendly.
Oh.
Now, this is in Cork, and she is known as the White Lady of Kinsale. So this is in the town of Kinsale. Kinsale? Yeah. Mm-hmm. According to legend and famous Irish ghost stories, one of the fort soldiers married a local girl, and they stayed at the fort for their wedding night. The soldier had watched duty that night, on his wedding night, and was a bit drunk from the day's celebrations and fell asleep. Other soldiers in the fort found him asleep while on duty, and following protocol of the day, shot him at his post.
Oh no!
Apparently, if you fell asleep while you're on watch, you were shot. After hearing about her husband's death, by the sounds of it they hadn't consummated yet, the bride flung herself to her death from one of the fort's walls. Decades after the tragedy, the lady in white was seen wandering through Charles Fort by soldiers and their families, especially children.
That's just so sad.
Two sergeants were packing up some equipment when one man's daughter asked who was the white lady smiling at her. Both men saw nothing, but the child was adamant that a woman in a white dress had been looking at her. In another story, a nurse saw the white lady standing over the bed of a sleeping child. So it's fairly a common thing for children to see an apparition and not necessarily the adults.
How did you find the whole experience there? Did you do an investigation?
No, it wasn't an investigation. We did a walkthrough during the day, and we were there with a paranormal team from Ireland. They'd join us, Wexford Paranormal, I think it was. They were awesome. They were really good. But we did get down into some of the gunneries and try to do some EVP sessions. And if I remember correctly, I think we actually heard footsteps that were walking through the empty chamber when all of us were standing still. Now, there was no... outside, there was nothing where that could have made that noise. It seemed to be within the chamber itself. It was fascinating. So, now I've got my holiday snaps.
Ooh.
So this is some of the buildings that are left on site, and this is what I love about Ireland, is that they treasure their history, and they actually will allow people to go and experience what's there. I don't know why I videoed that, but there we go. We're walking. That's nice, isn't it? Right. So they've shorn it up to make it safe.
So for those that can't see this, these are photographs and happy snaps from her holiday in Ireland at Charles Fort.
So this particular one, the roof is gone, and you can see there was multiple levels there, but they've all gone now. So just back to the ghost. Men saw nothing, but the children were adamant they'd seen it. Not all of her interactions with the living are friendly. Even into the first half of the 12th century, several captains recounted stories of being pushed down flights of stairs by an unseen force. Now, they're saying first half of the 12th century, but it was only built in the 17th century. So I'm not sure how they came about that. I think that might have been a typo.
Could have been. I would say so.
So Charles Fort was in military use until 1922. Which, that was another little video. We can let that play while I'm talking. This is a video in the
Hurry up, because it's only got like 2 seconds left.
Oh, like what do they call it? The captains, the higher up people. It was their quarters. It just plays on loop, so that's
Okay.
all right. So that information came from irishcentral.com. All right. Now there is another version where they actually have the names of the people.
Oh,
But it's a slightly different story.
Okay, this is how it can get really confusing.
Right. So at the turn of the 17th century, Wilful Warrender was the daughter of Charles Fort's commanding officer, Colonel Warrender. The Warrender family lived in the fort, and the colonel was known for his strict rules and discipline. Her daughter, however, was more gentle than her father and fell in love with an officer stationed at the fort named Trevor.
That's a very unusual name for back then.
Trevor Ashurst.
Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor.
All right.
Hey, Trev. Wilful, here's it for a good name for a girl, and Ashurst eventually decided to marry each other, and on the evening of the wedding, the newlyweds went for a walk along the fort's battlements. Wilful noticed some flowers growing on the rocks below the fort, and Ashurst told a sentry to climb down and get the flowers for his new wife. In return, Trevor would take the sentry's position for the night.
Ah.
The sentry retrieved the flowers, and so when night fell, Ashurst went to stay in the sentry box for the night. Now, that was their wedding night. Well, they're just newlyweds. It sounded like they were newlyweds. Anyway, unluckily, however, Ashurst was exhausted from the eventful evening. Oh, well, he got married that day, yep. And fell asleep whilst on duty. At the same time, Wilful's father, the colonel, was routinely inspecting, I think they're supposed to be inspecting the sentry's box. When he came to Ashurst's box, he was furious to see a sentry asleep and lost his temper. The colonel, which is Wilful's father, shot Trevor Ashurst through the heart. He then realised who the sentry was and that he had just killed his daughter's husband. Wilful soon found out what had happened and was so distraught she committed suicide by jumping off the side of Charles Fort and into the ocean. And now this is an interesting part that I have not seen in any other story. Colonel Warrender himself was so torn that he took his own life later that night by shooting himself.
Oh my goodness, what a tragedy.
Yeah, so that one was from ghost.fandom.com. Now we've got the romantic version.
Oh, right.
The more romantic version.
Okay.
The girl's father was commander of the fort, and the privileged life of his daughter in the pleasant town of Bandon was uneventful until the day she met a handsome young officer, Trevor, who had come on a visit to Kinsale. So he'd come on a visit, whereas the other one was stationed there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It was romance from the start. They fell in love and were married.
Mm-hmm.
On their wedding night, the happy couple walked arm in arm on the ramparts of Charles Fort, aglow with love and having the promise of a long life ahead of them. As they reached the land-side wall of the fort, now this is actually
the
wall.
side.
This is it.
Oh no, this is it. This is it.
This is the actual wall that they were walking along.
Oh.
And that little beacon, that white little thing that's down there, apparently was where the turret was, where he was stationed.
Mm-hmm.
As they reached landside wall of the fort, the young bride suddenly stopped in ecstasy, pointing over the rampart to where a solitary white rose grew on a bush below the high walls.
Of course it did.
Oh!
Of course it did.
Oh!
Look, Trevor, there lieth a white roseth on the groundeth for me. Shalt thou go and pick it for me?
Oh, they can't see the pictures. No! Fuck a duck. Anyway, I'll keep going with the story. I'll just get out of that. That's really annoying because I had that all lined up ready to go. As they reached, so she's then dived over. A sentry on duty close beside them overheard the girl expressing a wish for the rose and immediately volunteered to climb down to get it for her if her husband would stand in as sentry for him while he was doing so.
Oh, Karen's back.
Oh, Karen!
Hi, Karen.
Hey, Karen!
Is this more exciting?
Hang on, should I flash my
so.
tits
No,
at you
don't.
now?
Please don't. This might be a little bit more exciting for you, Karen.
No, I doubt it. So time passed. The bridegroom agreed to this and took the man's musket. Karen, you made me lose my place, love. Jeez. Okay. So he volunteered to go down and get the rose and bring it back. If the husband would stand in as sentry for him while he was doing so. Right, so he was climbing down to get the rose.
Kind of same story.
The bridegroom agreed to this and took the man's musket. The sentry clambered over the wall and disappeared. Standing at the sentry post with his bride beside him, the young husband awaited the man's return, while his bride looked forward eagerly to soon having the coveted rose placed in her hand. Time passed, but the sentry had fucked off. He's gone, oh, this idiot. He's offered to take my night duty. I'm going to fuck off now. Presently, sorry, that's a Podbean people. Presently, assuming the man had met with some unforeseen delay, in other words, he'd fucked off, in securing the rose, the bridegroom sent the bride indoors to their quarters to prepare. I'm glad Podbean people couldn't see that. So declining to wait any longer himself at the sentry post. Leaning on the sentry's musket, the young husband after a while dozed off, and a short time later, when the girl's father, commander at the fort, came on his tour of inspection, found him asleep without realising that the nodding man was not the sentry but his own son-in-law, and in dutiful execution of severe military code of the day, he shot the sleeping man. A moment too late, the commander saw that it was not the sentry he had killed, but the young officer whom his daughter had married only that very day. Demented by his discovery, he could go to Freemantle. The commander threw himself off the ramparts. Sometime later...
Did they find the rose? Did they get the rose?
No fucking rose there. You'd seen the country that was down there. Sometime later, the bride, who had emerged from her quarters, scantily clad, waiting for her husband to consummate their marriage, in search of her husband, found his body on the ramparts, and a little while later, that of her father on the rocks of the walls beneath. So it sounds like the father killed himself before she did this time. Idyllic happiness and freshly prepared nether regions had turned to stark tragedy. The grief-stricken bride, too, jumped to her death. And on the grey ramparts of Kinsale's historic Charles Fort, her graceful wraith still walks, they say, a pathetic ghost in a grim place of tragedy. Hope you enjoyed that.
They'll never let us in there ever again.
Kat wants to know what a Podbean person is.
Kat, foolishly what we're doing is recording so that this is also a podcast as well as a vodcast. So while Anne was talking, I had recorder on, and this will go on to Podbean as a podcast, maybe, if we're allowed.
Oh,
with the swearing.
Yeah, apparently we're not following the strict rules of doing a show. We're not talking to our audience.
That's okay. That's all right. That's okay. Karen, you are entitled. You are entitled to...
We must be fucking it up. Thank you for your support and taking the time to give us some advice.
No, thank you for your feedback.
You are just freaking awesome. Yeah, so...
Thank you for your feedback.
I'm sorry you can't see my photos. I had dutifully prepared that and, fucked that up, didn't I?
Yeah. See what happens when we're away for a week. We've been away for a week because we were quite busy last week doing things. And so...
Where were we on Monday night? I can't remember.
We were in Newcastle in a place we
we were doing a private investigation which we cannot talk about.
Yes, so next week is the letter G for golly gosh, and there will be 2 new topics or 2 new haunted sites to talk about and to share with you. They may well be just as boring as tonight's were. So I'm sure you will be riveted to your seats, waiting for what we come up with for the letter G. Now, in the meantime, we have Thursday Night Tarot, which is free. You are very welcome to come along.
We promise to make eye contact.
Oh, are we supposed to make eye contact all that time?
Yeah, so you've got to read your notes like this.
I can't do that. Oh, never mind.
She cares
can't,
for us. Karen cares for us.
Can't please everyone. And Karen, when we have enough money, what we will do is we will get
auto cues.
Yeah, we'll get auto cues, and
we'll pretend like we've memorised this shit.
Yeah,
and haven't just researched it that afternoon.
And it'll be like the news where we're talking, and all you see is our eyes. What?
John, what are you going on about?
And all that will be moving is our eyes.
Is that joke that's going? Oh, there's the thing going around at the moment.
Don't say it.
No.
Podbean's on. Don't say it.
I'll wait till Podbean's turned off.
So how about you all stay there. I will end this episode by pressing the magic button, and I hope that all of our listeners will come on for next week for the letter G.
I think that's after G.
All right, you can swear now.
I'm not going to swear. Okay. There was somebody had put up a picture. You know how church billboards put up questions and things to get you thinking, and they put up something like, if you could ask God one question, what would it be? And somebody had painted on there.
Yeah, I know.
Why is my G spot up my ass? I lost my shit at that. Oh, no, trust me, I'm not worrying about Karen at all. Edie, thank you so much for you've been very generous with your stars tonight. I really appreciate it.
Maybe we've made some people laugh.
That's John's suggesting G-spot for, maybe we could find some G-spot ghosts. There's Gettysburg. We've got Gettysburg. What's some other good G ones that we can do? Geelong Jail?
Yes, Geelong
Jail.
Maybe
we can get Deb on to come and talk about Geelong Jail.
We could.
We get a special guest and we sit on our asses and do nothing and let her talk.
Absolutely. As long as you give us some stars.
We're a little obsessed with stars now. Thank you, Audrey.
Thank you, everyone.
Kat's a little concerned that somebody's got a G-spot in their ass. I'll let you Google that. Just be careful what you type in. The images might be a worry.
Yes, we have educated a lot of people tonight.
Including Karen. Well, Karen's educated us. Bless you, Karen. May Jesus smile upon you this evening. Oh dear. All right. We'll talk to Deb and see if we can get her onto Geelong Jail, and we'll look at Gettysburg and
we'll be back next week.
Yeah, in the meantime we'll go and Jenny, you gave us all your stars. Thank you, beautiful. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. We love you all, and I'll see you on the dark side. Bye.